G'day, I'm Pete Techman Coman here at ISE 2025 in Barcelona, and I'm joined by Chris Audette from Sound Control Technologies. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, Pete. How are you?
Very well, and I'm very excited because you guys have a number of new products on show here at ISE, and this is another one, right? So this is the RTK AM1.
Yes, sir.
It's a bit hard to read down there. I wasn't sure it was a 1 or an I, RX and a TX.
Correct.
Tell me more about this. What are these for and why are they so special? Why are they so unique? What problems do they solve?
So this is our next generation table kit.
Okay.
So our first generation table kit was limited at the technology of when we released it 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And as you're well aware, there is now a huge prevalence in the USB-C domain.
Yes.
And so we brought a lot of clarity to what the USB-C capabilities are.
Right.
And as we know, USB-C, it exists on everything. Right? Our cell phones.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And you can go to a discount store and you can buy a USB-C cable, but it literally might only have the power pins. So it can't transmit data, right? But it's the same connector, it's just a piece of metal. So what we also know is that USB-C is capable of USB and DisplayPort, HDMI, right? Audio, so it's audio, it's video, it's data, it's power, right? All that's happening on the USB-C connector. We finally found a connector where everything's consolidated on one connector. It's the holy grail, right?
It is.
And half the time it doesn't work.
Yes.
It works if it's set up right.
I get it. I get it.
If you're accommodating what the actual protocol can do, then you're able to get all that on one connector. So our RTK AM1 literally does just that. So Cisco, to talk a little bit about what we have going on
because
here.
You've got a whole, this is like a whole experience, really.
This is
what
an entire room experience.
And look, I've specified your products for many years, especially when it comes to Cisco, because a lot of my clients do deploy Cisco solutions, and Cisco solutions in a smaller space, it kind of works fine if all the equipment's together and with the all-in-one bars, there's nothing you need to sort of
worry about. And they're fantastic solutions.
But when you start stepping up, like to the quad cams, and then you've got the separate codec and things like that, suddenly you need to extend all this. And that's really where SCT comes into play. They come into their own, right? Because, and we were talking about this earlier, a lot of clients have never heard of SCT because designers, consultants, installers, they just put it in because that's what's needed.
And it's always been behind the scenes.
It has always been behind the scenes. So if you're extending a camera to the codec, or you're moving extending the quad cam to the codec, all of that kind of stuff, we need SCT boxes. You've always had solutions for all these kinds of things, but now with this box, you're tying all these solutions in now to one holistic solution at the table, at the wall, in the rack, everywhere. You're covering every aspect of it.
And you and I know it's all about the customer experience, right? So how do we give the customer the experience that they expect when they walk into the room with their laptop? So in this particular environment that we're in, this happens to be a Cisco Crossview deployment. And the Crossview
is a bit like Gen 2 with speaker track, right?
Correct. Extreme, right? Quad cam, up to 3 quad cams. They're all in speaker track mode, and whoever's talking gets picked up on a camera. Secondarily, of course, what we have is Cisco. Poly, everybody has a codec that can be in device mode. Where the codec literally just becomes a USB-C device, right? USB device. So I'm walking into the room, I might be in a Teams call. But now I want to engage what's happening on my laptop with the rest of the room. So the way to make that happen is by plugging in on the USB-C port of the laptop. The problem is the newer technology is USB-C, HDMI, and power all on that one connector. So that's what the RTK AM1 is bringing to market. So what we're able to do is provide that customer with that single cable experience. So they're plugging in to their laptop. Our box takes that HDMI and USB We're powering the laptop.
Yep.
We provide that into our transmitter box that's underneath the table.
So that's this box here. This
Correct.
is the
that's the
RTK
transmitter.
AM1
Right.
that's the RX. Sorry,
Yep.
that's the TX.
So this is residing at the table.
Yep.
And we've got 4 video inputs here.
Okay.
3 on HDMI
Yes.
and 1 on USB-C. Those video inputs are selectable either hot swap when I plug them in, it'll switch over.
Right.
But more importantly, we embed on the Cisco API environment. So when our kit is plugged in, our connection to the codec, our inputs show up on the Cisco touch panel.
On the touch panel, right.
Right. So the Cisco touch panel will now reflect the inputs that are on our box.
And what programming is required for all this?
0.
There's no...
Truly plug and play.
You plug this in and then these inputs just appear on the touch
They
panel?
just appear. There's 2 configurations within the codec that have to be accommodated.
Okay.
Once those configurations are set, we pop up.
Straight away.
As long as there's something plugged in, we'll pop up on the touch panel.
Got it. Okay, right. I was going to ask that.
Has to be hot,
Yeah,
right?
so it has to have some sort of has a physical connection to it, then it will appear on the touch panel there.
Correct.
So we have 3 HDMI inputs on this box, 1 USB-C.
We do.
Okay. We also have, was it 3 microphones?
We handle up to 3 of the Cisco Mic Pros natively.
Right.
So those are PoE, so we're powering the microphones and
well.
providing that on our single CAT cable back to the codec.
Touch panel plugs into here as well.
Also getting power and Ethernet back to the codec.
Okay. And power on the USB-C.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And power of the USB-C to the laptop.
And we also have a couple of local USB ports as well.
Right, so it's really interesting, right? Because both of our modules, the receiver and the transmitter modules, have A ports, right? USB A ports. So when the laptop is plugged in at the transmitter side at the table, all 4 A ports belong to the laptop. So I can plug in other devices, and now they're connected to the laptop. If I unplug the laptop on the USB-C port, all 4 of those A ports now belong to the codec, because that's the host at that point.
It's automatically
moving the USB to the device.
Because USB, I mean, as I said, USB is a bit of a nightmare, right? Like you know, making sure you get it configured right. It's hard to switch. It's hard to transport. So this is all happening automatically.
It's all happening automatically. It depends on who the host is.
Okay, so that's at the table. So this goes under the table.
Correct.
No one really sees it. All the cables appear. All the microphones are there. And then we have the receiver.
Correct.
Right? And on the receiver, we've got one output. We've got a HDMI output, which plugs into the back of the codec. Or into the, where's this going to plug into?
So the HDMI output, interestingly, on this box is to accommodate poly. So some poly codecs don't have DP alt mode on USB-C. They only have USB on the USB-C port.
Okay.
So you still have to plug in HDMI.
Right.
We're agnostic. We support everybody.
Sure.
So we have an HDMI output to accommodate some poly codecs.
Got it.
But in a Cisco environment, we're plugging in on USB-C only.
Yes. Got it.
Then we have an Ethernet connection back to the codec.
Yep.
So what's brilliant is the microphones and the touch panel, because they're local link in the Cisco world, I only need 1 Ethernet connection back to the codec.
Okay.
Leaving all those other Ethernet ports available.
They're all available. Yep. So you're freeing up ports, simplifying everything. And also, I believe you've got a new generation of the RC5s, the Cisco camera transmit receive. Right. So what's so special, what's unique about the Gen 2?
Right. So to back up a step, the fact that our inputs on our box show up on a touch panel means that we have a serial relationship to the codec to tell the codec that we're there.
Right.
And we're embedded on the API, so our inputs show up. So Cisco has asked us to also make our extension kits that support the cameras available to the codec to tell it that we've got a heartbeat.
Yes.
So if I'm at a remote site and I don't have video, they don't know if it's a camera or my kit.
Got it.
So now with our new RC5 Gen 2, we have a serial relationship to the codec, so we can tell the gentleman who's in Control Hub, looking at the entire environment, his 1,000 codecs, and now he can see the status of our kits and all of the Cisco devices.
All right, so it's transparent. It's really
completely transparent, meaning also that they're going to see the RTK AM1 in Control Hub, but they'll also still see the Cisco microphones as separate entities.
All right, so it's not just
And a navigator.
Wow.
So everything appears as a Cisco device.
It's all native, right? So it's not just hitting the box and stopping.
Correct.
Wow, that's really, really cool. What else? Is there anything that we're missing from this? I mean, it's really an ecosystem here that you have, an ecosystem of solutions.
Correct.
Is there something that we haven't covered?
We've covered everything in this particular application.
Got it. I loved it. I mean, as I said, you guys solve problems. You really, really do.
Yeah.
And especially with these new products, you're just going that extra step. You really are, right? You know, you're solving the USB-C problems,
right.
You're solving the problems at the table, right. And now it all comes together. It really, really does.
Right. And,
yeah.
you know, we're in the AV business.
Yeah.
So anytime that we can add value to the deployment, right? What you and I know from a deployment perspective, to make it easy for the customer, it has to be complex on the back end.
Right.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's simple on the back end. Right? So we know that for a fact.
Yes.
So as much value add as we can throw into our box to simplify the deployment, now we've simplified the deployment and simplified it for the customer. Yes. So the value add is huge under those circumstances.
Love it. Love it. So obviously, if people are at ISE, they can come down to Hall 2, booth number...
Hall 2 K500.
K500, Hall 2 K500. But if they can't make it to ISE, the best place to go is...
www.soundcontrol.net.
Soundcontrol.net. It's that easy. So make sure if you are at ISE, come down, see Chris, see Dave. They're all
got a whole crew here.
They're from all around the world, and they're all experts in these solutions. Absolutely love it. I'm sure you're going to love it too. Make sure you come down and see them at ISE 2025.